Welcome to Business Talk Sister Talk. I'm Becca, and today's podcast episode is why most realtors will be out of business in 5 years. And with me today, I have Malcolm Wallaker from Pemberton Real Estate. Thank you so much for being with me.
Just like any other day where we get to just chat about houses.
Yeah, so if you didn't know, Malcolm and I are both licensed realtors in the state of Minnesota with Pemberton Real Estate. And we've been talking quite a bit about things happening around the United States with real estate. And I usually don't talk a lot about real estate on my podcast because I have so many other guests. But I wanted to do a little bit of more series on like quite a few different things, and this is the start of that. So Malcolm, tell me a little bit about what you do specifically right now.
Yeah, so specifically, I work in a office in, well, I really encompass like all of northern Minnesota, and I am in charge specifically of an office in Grand Rapids, Minnesota, which is, what is that? What is that directionally from you? Oh my gosh, I'm so terrible with directions. East of you, and
In northern Minnesota. There you go.
well, northern Minnesota. I don't know. People like to know locations. I didn't know
hmm
this place existed until I like was an adult, so that's the whole thing. But no, I'm in charge of the northern office and growing and just kind of maintaining about 16 different agents and continuing to grow. I'm a licensed real estate agent myself. I sell quite a bit of homes. And yeah, just been doing that for about 7.5 years and continuing to grow.
Yeah. So I always tell people like that there's always a why behind things. So why did you start doing this?
Yeah, I really just love to talk. No, I mean it was something that I mean honestly it sounds ridiculous, but I mean, it really started with, just kind of people just believing in me and really seeing something in me that they think that I would be good at. And then it really was like, hey, this is this thing that I believe I would enjoy. I'm passionate about helping people. Um, I dislike paperwork, but what's great about paperwork in real estate is that when I do paperwork, it usually means I'm doing something right. So it's kind of like the way I've conditioned myself to almost like paperwork.
Mm.
But really, it's just this passion I have for growth and growth in myself and growth in business and in my area. And so it just through mentorship and other people pointing out obvious things to about my personality.
Yeah. I'm kind of like chuckling a little bit here too when you're talking about like you training yourself to enjoy paperwork because previously were you a social worker at one point?
I wasn't a social worker, I was a case manager. So same thing, but not.
But the paperwork for that is definitely not fun.
And that's why I no longer do that.
Yeah. No, that's great. Okay, so we're gonna get down into the how you do what you do, but with that, I think we really want to get into the whole why don't you believe most realtors won't survive in the next 5 years? Because I think you kind of have a lot of inside knowledge on what you've been seeing.
Yeah, yeah, and that's kind of been the beauty of just working with a company like Pemberton Real Estate, just really ahead of the game. Just, a lot of the mentors and everything. It's really kind of put, I feel for the most part, just kind of ahead of the game with some of that stuff and can kind of see things in the horizon. And I see it too in our own local market as well. So I'm excited to get into that.
Okay, so tell me specifically when you say ahead of the game, what tangibly does that mean?
Yeah, so I would say that really the biggest thing with that is really kind of seeing where the industry is going. And it's just like anything with the market or free markets or the housing market. You look at the news and like what's the biggest thing that's affecting the economy, jobs, and everything is AI, use of technology, automations, things like that. And so really you're seeing what businesses, what brokerages are growing, I think are the ones that have truly embraced that. And the ones that I think are, it's not even specifically those things, not even specifically AI or automation. It's more so who are the ones that are willing to adapt. And you can really see it from a macro scale of all those industries. It's pretty much like who are the ones adapting and who are the ones who are not. And I mean, just look at Spirit Airlines, for example. I mean, they're no longer a thing, or I think we're all trying to buy it. I think something like that, but it's now. I mean, they just were doing the same thing, and I think it was like a joke for the longest time of what was going, and now they no longer exist.
Yeah, and I think that entire conversation about why they no longer exist is like a whole rabbit hole that I was like thinking about jumping down with you sometime, but not today.
Yeah, that
Because
could be a whole thing.
yeah, so let's just talk a little bit about when you say tools with AI, what are you seeing as like stark differences between who are adapting and people who aren't?
I think it's really kind of the. I mean, I could say like in the local market, being northern Minnesota east of you by 22 miles or whatever I was trying to say there. I don't know. No, 37. I don't know. They were really the big thing is and I use AI as like a specific example because really it's just like you have so many people in every industry where I think you are trying to become a jack of all trades and a master of none. And you see that a lot like in northern Minnesota with contractors. And you see that a lot with realtors too, where I mean they're trying to give lending advice, trying to become like appraisal advice, or trying to give all sorts of they're trying to do their own photography. And what's happening is that the world is just becoming more and more complicated, and there's just more work added onto the realtor's plate if they don't realize like, hey, I need to be client focused and worry about selling their home, and I need to let others do their job. I need to find tools to make my job easier. And we're there's like agents in our local market where they were top dogs when I first started, and now they're getting either other jobs or just quit.
And do you think that a lot of that has to do with just adapting to the speed of things? Like, are things going faster? What are you seeing?
I think things are going faster, but they're not adapting, meaning that I mean, they're not like it seems simple, and I know like anybody that uses any sort of like tech stack or any sort of technology at all, but any sort of automation in their business that may seem weird. Like one of the things that's changed my life, I feel like, is using AI to help categorize my emails for me, just as like in like level of importance. And things like that are like really, I think agents are just dropping the ball and not utilizing just because if I miss an important email that has something to do with like an appraisal or something like that, that puts me behind the ball. I'm behind in this deal by a day or two, and then that puts me a day or two, and then all of a sudden I miss out on something else, and then I'm just falling behind, and then I'm getting lost in the shuffle. And so what I've seen a lot of too is that the agents that are looking to do everything themselves and doing it without help of any kind is they're really just getting burnt out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember I was just talking with an agent like a couple years ago before I even got into real estate, and she was just telling me like she's an older lady, and she was like, their life is just going so fast comparatively to where it was before. And she was saying like how she remembers having to go to the title company with all of her paperwork, and like you got that 30-minute drive and like going to people's house to get them to sign something. And now it's like you can use DocuSign or Authentisign or whatever. And all of a sudden, like you don't have to do that. And just life just continues to speed up with the amount of like actual physical processes going faster to the point that you don't have to see people in person or you don't have to take time to like truly be in relationship. And that burns people up so much faster as young people. And I just thought that was so interesting, like that perspective, just in regards to like what she's seen over her lifetime in real estate. But one of the things I was looking at today, when you were just kind of talking about specifically AI usage and stuff, um, I was reading a 2026, I think, Outlook survey from Deloitte, and they're a major financial accounting firm. And they were talking about how 27% of people like that are specifically in the real estate industry are experiencing challenges with AI implementation and like technical issues, lack of experience, or just resistance to change in general. And so I definitely think that that's accurate across the industry, but then there's quite a few other things going on in regards to like mergers and acquisitions and all that kind of stuff on a national level. So what are you seeing with that?
Yeah, I think if you're okay, I'll back up a little bit when you're talking about maybe that's like it kind of helps my point when you were talking about like how do I do what I do, and like that agent you were talking about when she was discussing like just how much life is just passing by. And it's interesting it is where my value is and where I'm assuming her value is too, especially if she's been an agent for a while, is that I have a sense of like people feel at peace or comfortable and trust me. And so what should I be doing? I should be in front of the people. I should be showing them homes. I'm not using automation to get rid of that. Where it's like it's kind of like the industry is like plumbing and nursing and all that. Like those aren't going anywhere. And it's like you can't miss that well, I shouldn't say they're not for sure going anywhere because who knows where the world's going to be in 3 months, let alone tomorrow. But is that the agents that are still trying to have their hand in everything and think they need to be anything and everything with especially the administrative stuff, they should really actually just be hyper focused on their clients and really customer service should be an all-time high because all those little things are becoming easier and easier
Mm,
to do,
hmm.
and that's so yeah, I just want to backtrack that because I think that's an important piece is that we're relational beings and um need to be in relationship and that is what how I succeed is I automate things so I can be relational.
So you can have more time for people, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I'm
And
so sorry. I apologize for going out of turn, but I just wanted that to be
no,
out.
yeah. Yeah, thanks for clarifying. So tell me a little bit about what you're seeing happening on a larger scale, because I've heard there's quite a few things going on across the nation right now.
Yeah, so I mean like a big one too. I mean you saw like real purchasing and there's ins and outs of that and you can go through a whole depth of that, but like the real brokerage purchasing Remax, that's a big deal. And I think a lot of that wiping out their debt and everything, I think that's kind of an example of a brokerage, that was having a hard time. I know they have tools and stuff too, but there was definitely kind of an attitude of old school and kind of anti-technology. And then like one of the most technologically advanced real estate companies bought them out.
Which may
So
be
I
a
mean,
really hard shift for some people.
the whole thing. I mean, that's kind of it though. I mean, that's going to be, and really what it's coming down to is it's when it comes down to marketing and personality and everything, it's really become an emphasis of like you having to differentiate yourself and really let the world know like, hey, I'm gonna make you feel secure and safe, and how do you communicate that to as many people as possible?
Hmm. Yeah.
And that's, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah. I was just going to ask you, so do you think in the next 5 years, overall the market is going to shrink, or how do you think that these real like I'm still stuck on like your statement, your bold statement is there's going to be quite a shift. So in the next 5 years, what does that look like?
I think that the biggest shift is going to be the ones who, if the attitude of being like, this is how I grew my business, and that's how I'm going to continue to do so, and this is what success got me here. So I don't even, I'm trying to think of an example like cold calling or something like that. Well, there's a whole lot of laws and stuff that have passed where that's becoming more and more challenging to cold call anybody, and you could end up getting a pretty hefty fine pretty quick if you do it wrong, or things like that. The ones that are not able to adapt to rules, and I mean, my business could look entirely different in 6 months, and I recognize that as a thing, and that's okay. Like, but if you aren't willing to continue to stay up to date, I mean, the challenge is like we run into things like with agents and deals all the time. Me and you do this a lot, where they're throwing like laws at us about marketing from 2019, and there's so much that has changed since then with that. And so it really is going to take people who are educated and willing to continue to adapt their business. And that's any industry, but specifically with agents, you really it's going to have to involve getting the message out in the most creative way.
Mm. Yeah. And I want to talk a lot more in the next episode on specifically around like how you do what you do with like recommendations of resources that people would be looking for of like how to streamline efficiencies and stuff like that if they're interested in getting into real estate. Because I think that that is super helpful for people. But with that, I want to talk a little bit about where do you see like the most opportunity right now and what are people missing?
Yeah, I think where I see the most opportunity with people is I would say that there's a lot of opportunity in kind of almost niching down in what kind of agent you want to be and kind of figuring out exactly what you want to work with. I see a lot with an opportunity out there with there's so many like that there's not very few people that ever are experts in things like raw land. Um, and I think it's really kind of taking a look at your market and realizing like what is not being provided for. And I mean, I think it's fair to say, like, we talk about jack of all trades, and this is one of the things that I felt guilty in too, is we have um, everyday real estate agents up in northern Minnesota that will do a commercial property or sell a commercial property. And it can be a super confusing thing with lots of legal paperwork. And if you're not educated on it, and you're just like, oh, I'm just going to give it a shot, it can really end up being very messy. And to not have somebody that's like experienced in that, that can be a really rough thing. And I think that sometimes it takes even looking at yourself and being like, can I do this? Am I serving my client the best? If I, and if the answer is like, no, somebody else would be better doing this, don't do it.
Yeah, well, and I mean, like, definitely in that regard, I've been realizing, like, so because I've like renovated commercial property, like so much about like I know a lot about commercial property and I don't even think about it because like I it's just second nature to me. Like um yeah, I just had somebody come in yesterday and we were talking a little bit about like the regulations for where you should have your meters hooked up for your commercial property if you have residential units and how the power company will turn on your power or they maybe refuse to because they say like you got to update it again or whatever and like all that and it's like well you know I've learned a lot about the power company over the last couple of years and who to talk to and how to get the real answer. And if you're not a commercial account, why that makes a difference in talking with the power company. And, so it's definitely one of those things where if you don't have a lot of experience in one area, it definitely can limit your ability to share what the right information is, or at least who to talk to make sure that you're on the right path and you've considered every angle before actually really closing on a contract for sure.
Yeah, and we all have different experiences too. And I think that's definitely a different mentality from older agents as well. Makes sense. Like we are, then I don't want to say, well, yeah, I guess I could say like older agents, but it's really just agents that are kind of unwilling to admit when they might not be as educated. Like I'd be like silly to think that, there's things with a business or a commercial property that that I should just be know it all and not come to you as a resource.
Mm.
That's might seem simple, but that is like, pride is one of those things that really gets in the way of things. And I think that's going to be ultimately the downfall of a lot of agents with not willing to become more educated and just say when they don't know something.
Well, and I think pride is susceptible to any age. So I would say I've known a lot of
No, just old people.
old
Just old people.
no. I think there's a lot of older agents on, especially like even in my MLS that are very knowledgeable, but also very tech savvy. So it's like, I think anybody is susceptible to trying to be something that they're not and not having the resource or the recommendation to seek external counsel. But I
Just old people.
digress.
I'm just trying to make you clickbait clicks.
Yeah,
Old
I
people are
digress.
leaving the industry. Yeah.
Well, with that, how can people find you, Malcolm?
Yeah, so I have, let's see here. Facebook is pretty simple. I'm pretty like out there with anything. Like Facebook is the one I'm most active on, but that'd be just Malcolm Wallaker. You can find me on my website with all the other links on Move with Malcolm. And then I'll be connected to, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube videos. You can see all my fun little silly listing videos I like to make.
Some of them are a little edgy too. I'm like always like, "Oh, you pushed the envelope on that
I only
one."
got naked in one of them.
Okay, we're not
So
gonna talk about that.
that's the big, that's the
Um,
clickbait. They can go find it on YouTube.
okay, so tell me, we have a gawk story for this episode, and what we were going to talk about was I got a text message about an office meeting that I hadn't gone to, but I heard rumblings afterward that your wife was kind of upset about what happened. So you got to tell us about what that was.
Well, yeah, but she wasn't like upset in like the normal way that you would think. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, everybody saw my husband's butt or something like that. It was like, it was,
No,
we
no,
found
start
it.
from the beginning and tell the story
Okay,
about
okay,
what
okay, okay.
happened.
So,
Yeah.
so I'm at home or whatever and getting ready for bed or whatever. And I, my wife was getting our laundry together and whatnot. And she's just like, there is a 8 to 10 inch hole in your pants. Like
What? It was
yeah,
that
it was
big?
massive. Oh, it was not like a little like, oh yeah, the pocket ripped a little bit. It was like my pants were coming off. Like I don't know, it was holding on by a thread here, literally.
What? Okay.
And and so what's so funny is like my wife's like, how long was this like this? And I'm like, I don't know. I was in the office all day today, and it was like our Tuesday meeting, and there's like meetings before that, after that. Like I'm just in there all day, like with meetings. It's like everybody was there except for you. What the heck, Becca? No. Hey, you missed a show, but Paul's gonna be like, you can't put this out there.
Thankful that I missed it. Okay.
Um,
Anyways.
and she was like, it's so funny because like she was like mortified almost because I think she was like embarrassed, and she wasn't all like, oh no, all these. 'Cause we have like mostly women in our office too, which is even better. They're not like, oh no, everybody saw my husband's underwear. It was like I'm really disappointed in them because they're supposed to be all your work wives, and none of them told you that you have a massive hole in your pants. It's like I texted the whole group. I'm like, my wife is very disappointed in all of you.
Well, good thing that that was a total miss by everybody at the same time.
I don't know how I feel about it, but.
Or maybe
But
someone just didn't respond and they knew and just didn't want to admit they were aware.
no, we have some personalities in our office. I feel like they all would say something.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. All right. Well, thank you for joining me today on this episode. And
Absolutely.
if you enjoyed this episode, you should give it a review on wherever you're listening, and you can tune in next week to hear Malcolm talk a little bit about tools that will be helpful for people who want to have the competitive advantage within real estate.